My name is Christine Herr, and I'm the executive director at ArtForce Iowa. I am a singer, songwriter, musician.
I'm Emma Parker. I am the creative and financial director at ArtForce Iowa, and I'm a visual artist.
So Emma and I were thinking about what No Justice could be for this year. And we kind of had this look that was like, oh, this is probably the last one. So how do we honor this series as a No Justice exhibit series? And Legacies just became...
It just kind of became like this natural fit, especially as we are trying to work more towards actively collecting people in our community's stories through the Legacy collection. No Justice was reaching an end point, and that we were putting energy into the Legacy collection, and it just kind of became this natural fit.
And we really wanted to do something that could celebrate the life and the depth of this exhibit as a No Justice, KNOW exhibit. We really didn't see a theme outside of Legacies that could encompass us really going out with this is what we've done with this exhibit. This is what we've done with this series. So it was a bittersweet moment that happened like last summer. After the last No Justice last year, we're kind of like, this is it. This is the last exhibit for the hashtag No Justice series. We really can just do whatever we want now. We really can dive full into the Legacy Collection project to archive and preserve and collect the stories of our community members. To me, the theme of Legacies means honoring and celebrating everyday, ordinary stories. It means being able to say, this is who I am and this is what I want to leave behind. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to be able to invite the community to think about what they are going to leave behind. We know life is very short, and for those of us who believe that life only happens once, a legacy is a really monumental thing. Sometimes I feel like people believe that legacies have to be extraordinary, but to me, I really think leaving a legacy that says, I was a kind person, making sure that as a community, we can celebrate those things together. For me, I want my legacy to be that people remember me as someone who showed up as herself, right? That she walked into any room and you just knew like, this girl ain't lying about who she is. And she's gonna talk to you about life lessons that she's learned. And she's gonna be there to help support you, check you in with love. That, I didn't lie about who I was, right? I really want my legacy to be that I wasn't a fraud, that I was true to my beliefs. I stood by my beliefs and I was authentic with all 10 toes down, that I wasn't flopping around different rooms being a different person, that I was always 100% myself. And I'm hoping that if that's my legacy, then it will encourage other people to also be weird, right? And to walk around the world and like be strange and to not feel like they have to be something that they're not, or to feel like they're too much or they're being too silly or they're too funny or they're being too serious, but that they can just walk into the world knowing that they were made to be exactly who they're supposed to be.
I want my legacy to be that I was and am present for my family, and that I am able to bring them unconditional love and joy so that their lives have a lot of love and like happiness in them.
My name is Claudia Kilangalila. I am the Heroes Program Director here at ArtForce Iowa, and my art form is writing. When it comes to my own personal legacy, I really value forgiveness, and I believe that that is something people should not only extend to themselves, but should also extend to others that are around them. But I've also thought about this a lot recently, and I found myself in positions where I've had the choice to be vulnerable about something or hide away. And I think more than not lately, I've been choosing to be vulnerable because I hope to mirror that for others and show them that it's okay to be vulnerable, and you can choose that and take that step forward, and it'll be all right. So I hope I'm able to create the kind of space where people feel safe to be vulnerable and also extend that to others as well.
My name is Tyler Gates, and I am the Arts Engagement Director here at ArtForce Iowa. I practice filmmaking and I dabble in writing. What I want my legacy to be is that I want to make art that is able to make other people empathize with someone who's not them and realize that in this big world, a lot of us feel the similar way. If I can make one person feel that with something that I've made, then I'm going to consider that a job well done.
My name is Kamor Kim, and I'm an arts engagement creator here at ArtForce Iowa. The legacy I want to leave behind and continue is to always be kind and always share not only the things that I have, but the things that I make and the things that I'm able to share with not only my community and my close friends, but with everyone in the world, whether it's knowledge, art, music, or just being able to share time. I just want to be able to be there for everyone and anyone who needs that.
My name is Kijang Lee. I am an arts engagement creator here at ArtForce Iowa. I think what I want to be remembered as, or what I want my legacy to be, is just a great brother, son, and friend, I guess. I just want to be remembered as someone who's always there to help out when he can.
My name is Sam McCauley, and I'm an artist mentor. So right now, I'm actually a graduate student at Iowa State University, and I do a lot of drawing and painting and spray painting, sculptural work, a little bit of everything. If I were to have a legacy and thinking about legacies in general, trying to just pass on like a culture of playing. I think that's a big part of being creative, is trying to cultivate a space where you can explore whatever kind of ideas, but absurdity or just have fun in trying things out.
Hey there, my name's Dan. I'm an artist mentor and videographer here at ArtForce Iowa. What Legacies means to me is the contributions and intentions you leave behind for the future. I believe it's important to be mindful of those actions as an artist, as a creator, and as a human being.
No justice. This is usually around the time when we start to freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we're like, where are all the pieces and how do they all fit? And nothing comes together until the week before. And until then, we're all over like,
Yeah.
we hope things come. We have community artists. You know, I'm super excited to see a Cambodian American photographer share stories of folks who are in the Cambodian community here. We have a lot of young people working on line portraits, right, where they're sculpting wire to look like themselves, to honor the legacies that they want to leave. So we're really excited to see what this year is going to look like. Mm-hmm. This is different than past years. Mm-hmm. Previous years, it was always just our young people, just our community. And this year, we've really opened it up to include community members at large, because we know that's the next step after no justice. We want to be more community centered. Yeah. We want community members to really be able to share their own stories in their own voices. So what better way than to do that now to bridge that gap?
We're excited, and we're also encouraging everybody on staff this year to be a part of it as well. So that's been really interesting to see that develop as too, and kind of have that accountability with the team on making sure that we as creatives are working towards having pieces to contribute. I'm excited that this has been a challenge for the team to be an active part of this exhibit, more than just like the behind the scenes of putting it together.
So since this is going to be the last No Justice exhibit, we've been encouraged here at ArtForce Iowa to contribute a personal legacy project to include in the exhibit. I had an idea for mine, the legacy of my mother. Around the time the exhibit happens, it would be right before the 10-year anniversary mark of her passing. So I wanted to create a physical piece that would maybe be a collage of photos of her throughout the years that I've had from when she was a young adult living in Japan to being an adult and a mother here in the US. So she was kind of an amateur photographer. I got my first camera from her, or a better way to say it is, I think I just took it and she just let me have it. And the more I think about that, like even though she did photography as a hobby, I think that really at a young age inspired me to pursue videography and photography as not just a hobby, but as like a job. I want to show how that's like a legacy that she's left behind for me.
For Legacies this year, my personal project is a little tribute to my dog who passed away on New Year's Eve last year. I have 2 rubber panels and 2 different illustration styles of him that will be stamped and framed in the exhibit. So the reason why I chose to do Bana for my legacy project is he's been in my life for almost like half of my life, which is crazy. I've had him like through elementary school, middle school, and all of high school pretty much. And we were about to move out with him when he passed. He passed about like a week before we moved out of my parents' house. So it was really heartbreaking, but I'm so thankful for the time I was able to get with him.
Yeah, so my personal legacy project is going to evolve around, remembering what my mom is and who she is. And what I'm doing is a mixed media animation. And so the first step was, talking to my dad and trying to get those old camcorder info. And then step 2 was, finding some videos. So we had to get those tapes, find them, and then we had to upload them to like a digital format. So it was kind of a cool process to figure out and see how that worked. And then, once we got those uploaded, we had to, split it up to a frame by frame and see how, what clips we wanted and how this would look like. I think at the moment I have about 25 seconds of footage. We're doing that at 12 frames a second. And so in my head, that's me pretty much creating 300 different pieces of artwork to create this animation. So at first we're gonna have this original, old sweet, family video clip. But the final piece that I wanna show that I really enjoy is doing this mixed media process, just because I have a lot of different art forms I enjoy doing.
I feel like every year we got more confident. Each theme had a different meaning and shared something different. We can go back to the very first one when it was just all about teaching kids their rights and making sure that you knew how to represent yourself in court, what your rights were as a student, as a tenant. And as we moved into these different themes, we really started to see what young people were believing in and what young people have to say about their own manifestos, things that they believe in, right? Their own origins. Actively thinking about what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? To know what change is. So every year it's changed, it's evolved.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really evolved with the organization itself too. It's like the programming that we offer and facilitate in the earlier exhibits, they were amazing and powerful because the young people are always amazing and powerful and their voices are.
So I started here at ArtForce in 2021. I was not around for the previous No Justice exhibits in the past. So that's been really cool when I was working on the mini docs for 2016 to 2019. And getting to interview people who were either artist mentors or former youth artists from that time, seeing their experience and learning more about how ArtForce was like back in the day and seeing that evolution of the organization changing throughout the years. The No Justice documentaries that stand out to me the most would have to be the Legacy of No Justice 2017, Finding Home, and the Legacy of No Justice 2018 Manifesto. But in both of those exhibits, we featured youth artists who had made music, and the two that stand out to me are the youth artist MB and the youth artist TW. They both really liked rap and hip hop music, and so they both made their own tracks. I was able to feature both of their tracks in each documentary, and I thought it gave a unique experience to each doc, especially with the song that TW made. It felt very raw. It was a good way to give that song another platform again to express the feelings that youth artist was feeling. The other reason I like the 2017 documentary a lot is because we ended that one with a interview with Jennifer Witt, who is the wife of the late Judge Colin Witt, who passed. And I thought it was a really powerful interview of her being able to express how she wants to remember Colin and the work he did. She sees that the work ArtForce does as an extension of continuing a lot of the work that Colin did as his time as a judge.
But the first one was really just Pathways Youth. And then the program, ArtForce programming, evolved to incorporate young people in the immigrant and refugee communities. And so then you got a whole new twist and a new perspective on life from these young people. And then kind of as we kept growing, it just became natural to start incorporating community members because we are trying to actively work with the community to make sure that all of our young people have safe spaces to move through. So it's just been really nice to be able to see it becoming the exhibit itself kind of mirroring the work that we're doing to make sure that everybody has a place to come to.
And I think to add on to that, because we were including different young people into the program, we really started to see that what the Pathways youth believe in wasn't all that different than what the Heroes youth believed in. That these young people were learning from each other, understanding that, whoa, your life looks different from mine, but man, we all want love. We all want joy. We all want peace, right? We all want justice. We all want to have a safe home. And being able to see them connect and want to collaborate and empathize and humanize each other, it was really beautiful to see, because that's the kind of community we want to live in, right? Not just for young people, but as adults. And to actively see young people humanize each other was a really beautiful thing to see. They all got to learn from each other. We had always hoped that this exhibit would encourage youth artists to create and to reflect on themselves, but the amount of love that they gave to each other, that just came on its own. And we didn't really have to push for anything, because they were people who are full of love. So this family communal exhibit really happened with young people being able to humanize each other.
When I first joined ArtForce Iowa, I worked mostly as an artist mentor, still with the Heroes program, but we had our own site where we had students coming to us mostly after school, and that is the kind of interaction that I was having with youth. When I first came back, there was still virtual workshops that were happening, and that was also navigating a different field where people were trying to figure out, how do we still make this connection with young people, even though we no longer can be together face to face. Post the pandemic, we've now been in a space where we're working with a lot of schools, as well as working with community partners, and that's how we're seeing youth. That's a very different space than when we were before, when we initially started with having our own space where young people would come in, because now we're working with limited time, a different structure to their day, and still trying to engage with them and make sure that what we want to accomplish as ArtForce Iowa gets accomplished. We want to create a welcoming space, a healing space, and a safe space for them. And it's been very different doing that now in classrooms and in other organizations, as opposed to having a space where our young people can just come to us and it already has that kind of ecosystem. When it comes to No Justice Legacy this year, it's been really exciting thinking about not only what kind of legacy we have left behind as ArtForce Iowa with the previous No Justice exhibits, but also thinking about what kind of legacy the young people that we're working with want to leave behind. We still began the same way that we kind of had set up with having what we call our foundational workshops. And so that's where we're asking young people the questions of, what does your community look like? What do you value? What do the people around you find important? What do you need to be successful? And having those kinds of interactions where we're having them not only build relationships with us, but also build relationships with each other. And then we were like, okay, so how do we capture the different legacies that our young people want to share?
I've been here for almost 3 years now. I believe 2 serving as an AmeriCorps and then 1 as a full-time staff member. So the first year I had a good interaction with No Justice was last year, 2023, with Credo. And I got to see that from start to finish. So I got to see the students, draw up their mock-ups and then having us, print those out and then giving them back. And then they made, their mask, some of those Credo cards. From there to here, it's still pretty similar. We have the theme of what we want, and then it's pretty much, all the youth, and it's their art, their process, and their idea. And so we're just kind of help, directing them and showing them like, hey, this is Legacies. We want you to do this, and this is what they're doing. So this being our last No Justice exhibit, we wanted to bring in our detention youth art and have them also be in it. And so they had a 4-piece panel in the past, and that had their portrait and some words on them. And this time around, we would love to just bring back something similar. So this time we're having them do a self-portrait or even hand drawings on them. And we're also just having them write what kind of legacy they want to leave behind. Like, how do they want to be remembered? And some of them are very, very cheerful. Some of them, they would just want to be remembered as someone who's just always there for a friend, or they want to be remembered as someone who loved their mom. And some of those are just very important because, these are detention youth, and it's always good to give them a voice. So detention workshop, this is my 2nd year working with them. And so what we do is we go in and we host like a 30-minute art workshop with them. And usually during this time, it's just to give them, the freedom that they don't usually get. It's just time to hang out, make some art with us and just hang out and to get to know each other. So this time around, being our last No Justice exhibit, we're trying to make the art a little bit more intentional. We're also giving them the option, they can always keep their own art if they want, but if they want their art to come and be on this, exhibit piece, they're more than likely to bring it and give it to us. And that's what we've been collecting these past couple months.
So I volunteered when I was pursuing my undergraduate degree at Simpson College. I've had different relationships with ArtForce at different times. Yeah, the workshops originally that I participated in at the location that was close to North High School. So it was more of a brick and mortar, whereas now we're going on site to schools, getting into the classroom where students are comfortable and participate in their world as opposed to having them come to ours. Everything that ArtForce represents is in line with what I want to do ultimately. As silly and as playful as I like to be, art educators are the ones who are responsible for supporting me through traumatic early adulthood. It's part of a legacy, right, of other art educators, and allowing for either other art educators to exist in the future or just artists in general, right? It's figuring out how do I communicate myself, and how do we work together to figure out to collectively communicate ourselves, either visually or through video, photography, sculpturally, you know. I think we're in a good position to reach a lot of young people that can only really benefit from learning how to communicate themselves in different ways. I think working with youth that are involved in corrections or just different youth in the Des Moines public school system, I think our current impact is vast, and the potential for our impact is constantly growing.
So I began with ArtForce about 7 or 8 years ago as a photographer. I was doing workshops for them. We had after school workshops at that point where the kids would come and meet with us after they were done with school. And I would basically lead these workshops to teach kids about photography, how to have fun with it, how to be creative, how to learn, how to take pictures. That has evolved, and now we are doing workshops in school, going out to the different middle schools and high schools in the Des Moines public school region. The workshops have evolved from a more how to do art and more how to know yourself well enough to be creative. So a lot of what we do now, I would consider more social, emotional learning, leads to some sort of creative output.
So when I first started with ArtForce, I was a senior in high school. When I first started, the workshops were all virtual because of COVID. So now that we're after COVID, we're in an ArtForce Everywhere kind of like program thing. So we're trying to meet the youth where they're at, whether it's in schools, in like groups that they're already in clubs, or even at the juvenile detention centers, which we've always been there in the past, even before COVID. So that's kind of how workshops have changed since I started. But now for No Justice Legacies, the workshops are a little more intentional on what the youth artists are creating and what stories they want to tell about themselves and share with the community.
So Emma and I are the most tenured staff at ArtForce Iowa. We've been with the organization for 9 years. And so for us, I feel like we've seen so many evolutions. We've seen ArtForce go through literal transformation from having a 2 feet sewer flood. This was when we had a screen printing business, so we had mannequins and clothes everywhere. I remember during the flood in 2018 that the mannequin was upright. You could see the mannequin face. And 10 minutes later, when I came back to look at him, he had flipped over. We had this beautiful guitar holder that could hold 10 guitars, and all of the guitars were just floating on top of the water. Seeing ArtForce be able to overcome that and overcome the 6 moves we've done, we've gone through so many physical transformations as an organization. The thing that most people don't see and don't know is the internal transformation that was happening with our organization, leaning into trauma-informed care. We weren't doing that when we first started. And then we didn't do that until 2017, leaning into healing-centered engagement, making sure that all of our programs were centered around this approach. Those are things that were happening internally, and also being able to build the team to be the team that it is today.
I think like throughout the years, we've been able to meet so many amazing individuals that helped shape, the organization as it is. I'm just thinking like through like our AmeriCorps members that we've been able to have, like the artist mentors that have helped us and supported us through the years. Their presence and their experiences, along with the experiences of our young people, all through the lens of what trauma-informed care through healing-centered engagement, has really helped shape and evolve the organization to become as human-centered as it is today. I think us going through all these transitions have helped us to be so adaptable and so malleable, to really understand how each individual works and functions, and so that we can best support those people in our lives, like the young people to the grown adults who are there to help.
So the organization's really transformed a lot. We've pivoted so many times, and we've really learned tenacity of this organization, right? And it's a true reflection and mirror of the community that we serve. Because the community that we serve, man, they know how to survive. They're bold and they're strong. We really feel like the organization is able to reflect those character traits that our young people have and the communities that we serve have. The organization not only is tenacious, but we're also so human-centered. Yeah. We deeply care and love each other. I feel like that has probably been one of our greatest transformations.
I would say so.
Is that we are not just this nonprofit that has a mission to create opportunities for youth to transform, but we also deeply care about each other. And we care about everyone we get to work with. We care about everyone that we share space with. You know, I think that's one of the things that makes ArtForce such a beautiful place and why people gravitate towards ArtForce, because we want everyone to feel like they belong.
And I hope that, like, you know, tying it to this last exhibit, I do think that we want the organization to be known for, to carry through, that we are human-centered, that we really truly care and show up in an authentic way for the young people that we serve and the community members that we work with.
That is the ArtForce legacy. You know, that if something happened and we lost funding and we couldn't exist as an organization anymore, or maybe something radical happens where we don't label people as refugee and immigrant and we welcome them into our homes, into our country, right? When young kids aren't jailed in detention anymore. I would hope that the legacy that this organization leaves behind is this ecosystem that was full of love and full of kindness and full of light at a time when things were messy. This was a place that anyone could come and be themselves, make art, make friends, you know, and it was fun. ArtForce Iowa had fun, and while having fun, we loved each other. And that would be one of the greatest legacies
I think so
that we could ever leave behind as an organization.
I think for me, I would like the legacy of the No Justice exhibit to be one where we created space and time for the young people who are often marginalized in our community to be seen and heard.
That's exactly why we started the exhibit. Was for young people to be able to shake things up and say, listen to me. I have rights too, and I have beliefs too, and I need someone to listen to me. I think another part of the legacy for this No Justice series is that community members came out and they did tell young people, I hear you and I see you and you're not invisible to me. How can I advocate for you? How can I support you? How can I have more empathy for young people that I don't even know? This combination of strengthening our communities by providing opportunities for adults to really listen to young people and for young people to feel like they're being authentically heard. You know, that's what No Justice is all about, right? Providing a platform for young people to share. And also it's a space for adults to be able to humble their egos and see that as adults, we don't know it all. And there's something to learn from young people who are living this right now. Because they can't vote. That we can listen to what they're saying, to what they need, and we can do something about that.
So with this being the last No Justice exhibit in the No Justice series, what I want the legacy of the series to be is that the exhibits were a way for youth artists to fully express themselves and not feel judged. Expanding what we can do with storytelling. One way I know we're going to be doing is with the Legacy collection, of collecting the stories of Iowans who don't really have their stories told in this state. I want to see the Legacy collection become an important library of authentic stories of Iowans as a way for, you know, other Iowans to relate to people that they didn't think twice about.
When I think of the No Justice series that we've had through time with ArtForce Iowa and what kind of legacy I want for them all to leave behind, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is a safe space for expression for young people. That has always been core to the work that we do at ArtForce Iowa and has gone further in the work that we've done in the No Justice series that have happened with us. And I believe that there's no better legacy to leave behind than that we've been able to create that space where our youth feel seen, heard, and they can advocate for what they need. When I think of the future of ArtForce Iowa and which direction I would like it to go in, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is growth. I know that we've been very intentional about where we've been and what kind of work that we're doing. We've been able to get into more schools this year. We've been able to get into have more community partners and have workshops out in the community, as well as work with the adults that are serving our young people. And I just want to see that continue to grow.
I'd like to see ArtForce propel itself into the future the way it has in the past, by innovating the way that we approach students to create art, by harboring a safe space for students to be creative, thoughtful, and to be contributors to their community, not only through art, but through their behavior, their self, and their identity.
What the legacy of the No Justice exhibit series kind of means and looks like to me is the stories that are not told and are purposefully not told by the people that have power within our governments, within our systems, within our schools. And I think it's really unfair that their stories aren't able to be heard just because of the background that they come from, especially with our youth who come from refugee immigrant backgrounds or in the system backgrounds. Those stories are pushed down, those stories are hidden. We give the youth opportunities to share their stories with no censorship. We give them the opportunity to share whatever they want. We give them the opportunity to share how they feel, the things that they've gone through. And the things that the family has gone through and their friends have gone through as well, that probably wouldn't be told in mainstream media because of the system that we live in now.
I think I want No Justice to be remembered as an exhibit that was always hosted by ArtForce Iowa, and it gave youth a voice to, put their art out, whatever medium form they wanted. I know in the past, we had some singers, we had a lot of sculptures, and just different kind of art forms, but it also gave them the voice on what they wanted to share to the world. And it gave them and put them in a serious spotlight, It's not just like your typical, hey, this is an art youth show. This was something, that you've struggled with, and they wanted a voice, and they wanted to speak it out through their art form.
Well, I hope ArtForce continues to exist, right? Yeah. Maybe it doesn't exist in this way because the world has changed and we won't need to have a program just for refugee and immigrant youth because they have everything they need. And we won't have a program just for youth who are involved in the court system because all of the problems have been solved. And really, it's just about making art and making friends. But until that happens, I hope that ArtForce Iowa is here for a really long time to create opportunities for young people to transform through art, but to also help adults to learn how to engage with young people and to feel, confident in that, right?
Yeah.
But I want ArtForce Iowa to have a lot of fun, that we're still kicking it and eating good food and making friends and making art.
Yeah. And I think too, it's been a dream too, that to just not be in Iowa, but to find the organizations that are doing work similar to us, or to start in places that might not have an organization like us, and having fun and bringing joy and opportunities for young people to transform in other spaces and other places too.
There are kids everywhere who need access to the arts. Loneliness is the number one killer, harming individual people. And art is that antidote, right? So we know that there are people across the world who need more art.